Okay, thank you for coming, everybody. Today's a really interesting seminar because we haven't really spoken about hormones yet in any of... Who here has been to one of our seminars, by the way? Big hand in the air. Okay, welcome new people to the seminars for the learning. So some of the stuff that I'm talking about today is stuff we've already spoken about. So if I ever have lost you guys, just like Joel, can you just cover that concept very quickly, and then you'll be back up to speed? Because if you don't understand like an underlying principle, you'll be like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Okay, so it's pretty simple stuff. That's more when we get towards the end. Today's really cool because we haven't really spoken about hormones before, but they're actually extremely powerful. So does anyone here actually know what hormones are, what they do? Or is it just a kind of a vague thing that we've all heard of? Okay, cool. No one knows, which is perfect. That's kind of what I've prepared you for. So today I want to talk about why hormones are one of the most important yet underlooked aspects of health. So we all think about, working out and eating well, but many of us have hormonal imbalances that we're not even aware of, and we don't even know where to start or what they are. So we're trying to work on our problems here when our problems may be somewhere else. So I want to, A, bring these things to light today, but then B, give you solutions to these things and then contextualize it to gym results. So it's not just about how do you get higher test, how do you build muscle through getting higher test. We make it a bit more contextual for you guys. So today I'm going to go through the three major things we're going through. Why hormones are so important to maximize health and performance, how to overcome your imbalances so you can reach your goals, and then the three key principles for lowering stress, maximizing fat loss, and rapidly gaining muscle. How do those things sound, my boys? Who wants to gain muscle here? Who's in the muscle? Yeah. Yeah, and who would like to lose fat? Yeah, cool. Cool. So we need to consider, and I'll get more into this later, it's not just about how much we eat, it's about the environment we create within our body. And that's why people like Josh Hardy are never fat. Okay. So, sorry, what was your name? Mark and PJ. You guys haven't been here for our other seminars on how to lose weight, but the two major things we talk about are macronutrients, which is how much protein, fats, and carbs you take, and your training. They're the two things that we stress so heavily because most people don't even get that right. So we don't even go anywhere near touching things like hormones because people have no idea. So up until now, we've preached that. Today we're going a lot deeper than that. That's literally a very surface level aspect when it comes to health. So now we're going to explain, if you've done that and it's not working, why isn't that working? And what do you have to consider to make things work? So this is just literally a little thing of steroids there, okay? So what if this was the tip of the iceberg? Why do some people seem to get results really easily and others don't? Has anyone noticed that? Has anyone themselves kicked their ass in the gym and nothing happens, and then they see someone like pick up weights once and they get jacked? It's fairly frustrating when we see that too. So why is it? Why isn't it? It's not just about what you eat and what you do. What is that factor that's influencing underneath the surface? What do you think that is, guys? Hormones. Thank you, guys. Woo! All right. Yeah, mine's too kicked in. Like the nerves for doing the talk plus a coffee. I'm like, come on, hurry up, audience. All right. Okay, another question. What separates boys from men and men from women? Hey! Round of applause for Nikita. I paid her to do that. It's my partner. I paid her to be with me as well. Okay. It's our hormones. Woo! Okay, so I'm going to take you guys through a few examples just to illustrate to you the power of hormones because A, we don't even know what they are, B, we don't know what they do. So I've chosen some very extreme examples, but I've chosen them because they very much highlight, especially what testosterone does, okay? So, has anyone seen Harry Potter? Yeah. Woo! So everyone knows at the start Neville Longbottom was like the loser, ugly kid. No offense to Neville if anyone thought he was cool. Once he went through puberty, he becomes quite an attractive man. What did that? It's testosterone, okay? So yeah, hormones, literally. So when we hit a certain age, what takes us from being this cutesy little boy with a tiny voice and no hair into a disgusting hairy man that stinks is actually testosterone. So the impact of that one hormone in our body literally transforms something from being a fairly feminine little creature into a dude, okay? And that's a prime example of that. Here is actually a transgender transformation, okay? So the girl, I can't assume her gender. The individual on your left, 3 years of taking testosterone is now that individual there. So when we're thinking about sexes, the primary thing that separates the sexes is actually the hormones we have in our body. And I watched a time lapse of her, them, him, going through this transformation, and day by day you could literally watch their facial structure change, and facial hair starting to begin, even bone structure. So it's pretty profound, the effect of one molecule in the body. Pretty crazy, hey. This is a 1-year steroid transformation. So like most guys in their life, even if they train their ass off, in 10 years may never get that big. That's 1 year of him adding hormones to his body. So he would have trained probably a little bit harder than most because he was gassed up and able to do that, but it really shows the power of introducing something to our body, and this is why we need to understand how powerful these things are. On another note, if we look at this guy's nipples, if you go wrong with steroids and these kind of things, playing around with your own hormones, he's literally grown breast tissue there. So if you go wrong with it, look, he's got a lot of testosterone, but with extra testosterone comes other things, and he's literally grown breast tissue. So we need to understand that someone who's not even supposed to grow breast tissue can. A girl can become a guy if we change the chemical state. So they're very powerful things that we need to consider. And finally, this is what happens when a girl takes a lot of test. And you literally will see their bone structure change. You'll see their entire physiology change. And it's, I don't know if you guys find that pretty intense, but it's pretty crazy what one chemical can do, okay? So does everyone understand how important hormones are now? Can we see the power of them? Cool. And we have no idea. So we need to get an idea of what they are and what they do so we can start to, within the natural confines of what our body does, optimize that state for ourselves. So there's a big problem, and this is mainly aimed at men. There is a different problem for women, and we have, do we know a date for the women's seminar? End of next month? 25th of May. So ladies, there is an entire seminar on female hormones and how to optimize that. This is contextual to men. Our main problem with men is testosterone levels are declining. Okay, testosterone is our major male hormone. I'm going to get into that in the future. Here's a little graph. Honestly, I just chose any old graph that represented this. There's so many we can choose from. This is an older men, but this is 1987 to 89. This is 1997. This is 2002 to 2005. So that shows, they're pretty old dudes. It's like the 50 to 70, 50 to 80 range. But that shows, just in that small period of time, so that 15 years, the drop in testosterone. If we consider that today, that's going to be increasing, and it's going to be further increasing over time. Does anyone have any idea why we think it's dropping? Does anyone want to say a word?
Lifestyle, exercise.
You said all of them. How dare you? Woo! Your coffee's kicked in.
Was I supposed to sniff it?
No, you put it in your bum. No, joking. Yeah, so all of these things, I actually realized there's a slide in between. I found this image really amazing. This is a fair while ago, but these are native Aboriginals, and you have to consider these guys would not have had they would not have had a big calorie intake. They would not be consuming anywhere near as much food as us. They wouldn't be lifting weights per se, they'd just be living, but look how jacked these guys are. This is just an example of, like, we have an abundance of food, but it's not really becoming lean, usable muscle. So it just shows how healthy people once were when we're in a more natural environment. And this is an average white guy these days, okay? So this is really capturing how lowering testosterone is actually affecting masculinity and what men are like. So I should have asked this too early. Why is this happening? Our modern lifestyles. And there's a lot of things that contribute to that. The first I'll mention is toxicity. So we have to consider, like bees aren't working as well these days. Fish aren't as fertile these days. It's because we've introduced so much poison and so much extra stuff into like our crops. We use all these poisons, like different things we expose ourselves to in our day-to-day life, different chemical exposures. All of these things actually affect our hormonal state. Our diet, we once ate whole foods were very nutrient dense. Now we eat things that are so mass farmed that they probably have like a third of the nutrients of what they once had. Animals are raised in much different conditions. So the quality of our food is far less, even if we are eating whole foods, but then we need to consider, as well as that, we're eating far more refined foods with additives and just different things that our body doesn't really like. Then we have stress. Who here has experienced stress at some recent point right now? Yay, we're all stressed. Okay, very, very normal in this lifestyle. If we considered, 100 years ago, we hardly had a concept of time. We didn't have phones constantly demanding things from us. So nowadays, we're always go, 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 and go. As soon as we finish one thing, we don't really get time to chill out and breathe. We're on to the next thing, we're on to the next thing, we're on to the next thing. And that actually is a big stress physically and mentally on our bodies. And finally, things like alcohol, caffeine, medications, all these other things that we didn't really have an abundance of, now we're introducing them into our bodies, it adds up. So collectively, there's a lot of things. In general, it's the modern lifestyle. it's the environment and the lifestyle we've created for ourselves, and all of the modern diseases we're seeing these days, all of the mental health problems, these are all a result of what we've kind of created for ourselves. So we need to learn how to navigate these waters as best as possible to still get all the benefits from this modern lifestyle we've created without getting the drawbacks. How does that sound, guys? Ooh, who wants a lot of tests? Yeah. Okay. So now you should understand, male hormones are powerful, okay? Check out how powerful. Where's this lady? Whoa, powerful, okay? Way more jacked than any of us. Powerful, yeah, they're super powerful, okay? So we need to understand that. That's why you can't ignore them. They're super important. And I'll just go back to where it was. And most of us suffer from some sort of hormonal imbalance. Doesn't mean we're all, messed up in some way, but we all have the leeway to have more. We all have an opportunity to have a body like Josh Hardy if we really want to. So, what are hormones? I'll get into that now. I've got a really crazy analogy. Josh told me to do this one. I just Googled, what is it, London subway, I think, London subway. Yeah, I want to show how complicated that looks. I would die if I had to navigate that, honestly. Nikki gets so stressed because she has to navigate me everywhere in life because I have no sense of direction. So the reason I chose this image is because hormones are about as complicated as this subway. Here is a chart about all the different pathways that hormones can go down. So, I see. It's Nikki's favorite chart. Nikki studies hormones, by the way. So this shows you all of the different potential pathways and different conversions that hormones can go down to become different hormones and how they act within the body. The whole point of today is to not even try and comprehend this. I'm going to summarize this information into the things that are most important. What do those hormones do? How do you start to influence them? And then how do you contextualize that to your own life? How does that sound, guys? Because this chart, it's her favorite. Huh? It can be a lot simpler than that. Yeah, like this is why science, they very much complicate things. Let's look at it with a microscope. It's like, why don't you just stress less? Oh, I feel great. Okay, so there's that, okay? This is my analogy. I don't know how many people have pondered upon the body before, but the body's incredible. Like we have billions of cells that are moment by moment controlled to do whatever we like. They look after our digestion. They automatically manage our blood sugar. Our brain makes thoughts. All of these things simultaneously being done second by second without thought. So the body and the brain are an amazing piece of machinery, and hormones are one of the things that help orchestrate that machinery. Hence why I have an orchestra, okay? So I'm using this analogy. All of the cells that we can see here on this side are very much like the different individual guys in the orchestra, okay? And when we're thinking about what hormones do, we're thinking about how they are actually the conductor of the orchestra. So within the brain, there are a couple of different glands. One of them kind of receives input of what's going on in the body. So like, am I stressed? What are the levels like in my bloodstream? What's going on? And then it tells another little gland to send hormones out. And then the hormones are like little messengers that go and talk to our body. Okay, so our nerves control our muscles, but chemicals are what talk to our organs and talk to our other cells. Hence why the conductor, he's like, your violin's not very good. Yep, a bit more violin there. He's like, oh shit, yeah. So think of your glands within your brain as similar to the conductor, okay? And that's kind of the first step. Then when we have a hormone, see that little, on this side here, that little shape? Hormones interact with cells that have the same type of receptor. So it's like a lock and key mechanism. I'll actually use my radio thing first. Imagine I have a muscle cell, and the muscle cell is tuned into the testosterone frequency. Only when testosterone hormones float past in the bloodstream will they actually kind of link up. So if a cell is tuned into a different hormone, it won't even notice when testosterone comes past. But if it's tuned into the testosterone frequency, when it comes past, about, yep, oh, that's test. And then that little hormone will actually connect to that cell, and then it will have an effect on the cell. So basically the brain's like, what do I need to do? I'm going to send out this messenger. The messenger runs around and it's like, oh, there's one of my boys. It'll lock in and it will do something. And that's basically how hormones work. Does that make sense, everybody? Woo, okay, cool. So now we know how hormones work. We're all hormone experts. What the hell hormones are going on? That makes no sense. What hormones are in our body, okay? How sexy. Oh, shit. Oh, damn. Look at Josh, he's loving it. I was like, hey, Josh, when I was making this seminar, I was like, hey, Josh, can you send me a shirtless picture of you so I can use it for the seminar? He's like, I've already sent you one. He already knew. So First of all, the main thing we're going to focus on today is testosterone and the positive effects it has on the body, because for the most part, most men need more of it. You know, that's our main focal point. Then we're going to talk about how other hormones can negatively influence that, or how testosterone can kind of be affected by those hormones. So it makes humans into men. The reason why I said humans is because we saw earlier, it can make women into men if it really wants to. If we take it exogenously, if we inject it or use patches or whatnot, we can actually change our physiology. So it makes anyone into men. It makes small boys into men once they go through testosterone. It increases in massive amounts during puberty, as many mothers see, and they become very sad as they lose their cute little boys. Naturally decreases as we age. And just to give context, I said steroids are testosterone. So when we're having various hormones, many of them are testosterone, okay? So what does it do? I've put the major benefits here. It builds muscle. It literally tells your muscle cells to build muscle, okay? It blocks fat gain. So it stops us from gaining fat. Hence why Josh Hardy is always so lean. The fat tries to store itself, and then Tess is like, no, no, no. And it's like, okay, and it doesn't store itself, okay? Increases confidence. So we have to think about what are masculine traits: aggressiveness, leadership, confidence, protection. These are the prime difference between a male and a female are actually driven chemically or hormonally. So the more we have of these things, the more risk-orientated behaviors guys will take. The more they're likely to go up and start something with someone, or protect someone, or even go hit on a girl. So it increases confidence, strength. There's guys who can take testosterone and they haven't even put on any muscle mass, and all of a sudden they're lifting like 20 to 30% more, purely because of the impact it has on our body, okay? So it sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Testosterone sounds amazing. Libido, obviously. Testosterone is why guys are guys, okay? Nav's like, yeah, boy. He's got way too much testosterone. Cognitive function. So cognitive function is how well your brain works. As men age, many men have cognitive decline, so their brain doesn't work as well. And many of them can, when I put mood there as well, many of them can actually fall into depressive states when their testosterone is low. So it's very important to understand that it has a very positive effect on our brain. And again, aggression, that's kind of bundled in with the confidence. So testosterone just makes men pretty badass, basically. And if we can optimize levels of it, it makes many of the things that we want easier. Okay? More muscle, less fat, feel good, basically. It's very rare to find men that have too much of it, but we've probably met some super like meathead dudes that are pretty angry, okay? It's a common occurrence as well. So some people have hit the genetic jackpot, or for some reason they've done that. And we've seen those guys. Like you'll be in like year 6 at school and there's some dude who's like, hey guys. And like everyone else is like, hey Timmy. He's like, what's up boys? Like there's always some of those guys. We always know one of those guys. And they've, for whatever reason, I couldn't tell you right now, they've managed to have more test. So there's a classic white guy, low test symptoms. So if we're considering high testosterone, hey? Oh, that's low blow. That is a low. So if we consider testosterone gives you more muscle, less fat, more confidence. If you have less testosterone, you'll struggle to build muscle. You'll easily put on fat. You'll have less confidence. You'll have less motivation and desire to do things as well. Okay, and that can end up with low libido and depression. So this is why a lot of guys, when they're older, they start to rely on things like Viagra and whatnot, is because they don't actually have the natural systems to produce that. So everyone's familiar with what testosterone does? Yeah. Woo! Thank you, crowd. Okay, so we're going into DHT now. So testosterone can become another form of testosterone called DHT. I've kind of labeled this one as the Hardy hormone, as you guys can see. So when you think of test, just think of this sexy man here. Okay. And when we think of DHT, think of this really hairy guy with male pattern baldness, okay? So DHT is, when we think of male development, so when a guy is going through puberty to become a man, a lot of that is driven by DHT, so the deepening of the voice, the thickening of the bone structure, the increased facial hair mess. No DHT mess, yeah, I have very little. I was gonna check that chest hair out, very nice. Okay, so DHT, yeah, it's associated, it has a lot of positive effects, but in excessive amounts, it leads to male pattern baldness, and it can lead to a lot of body hair, okay? So when we're considering increasing testosterone, it's generally desirable to not increase DHT levels if possible, if you want hair and less body hair. Some guys, as I was looking through this, some guys on YouTube intentionally increase DHT to get facial hair and stuff. So there's always a context for everything. If you want to, yeah, if you want to save your hair, you want to block it. If you want less hair and more body hair, increase it, okay? So that's the role of DHT. Everyone familiar with the hairy testosterone? Okay. Ugh. So estrogen. I'm only using this image in context of men, but estrogen basically increases body fat in the hips, the thighs. It can create breast tissue. So if we think back to that slide where the guy on steroids actually had mini boobs, estrogen was a result of that, okay? So it also can have a lot of emotional symptoms. So when a girl is nearing her period, because many girls are unhealthy these days, the increase in estrogen is actually what can contribute to them not feeling good. So hormonal imbalances can make them feel off. Same thing happens to men. So if guys are having these symptoms, that's generally why. As men get older as well, they tend to have more estrogen. That's why a lot of guys, like my dad, he used to be a hard dude, but as he gets older, he's a bit softer now, and it's because he's actually got more female hormone. So it's a true thing, okay? Feeling tired and inability to build muscle, a very regular thing. So if we consider that a lot of men are low in testosterone, some men have elevated estrogen as well, it doesn't lead to a desirable state. It doesn't lead to a desirable physique or a good feeling, okay? So generally we wanna try to lower estrogen as much as possible, increase test as much as possible, so you're kind of balancing that out. Okay, finally we have cortisol. So who here gets stressed? Cool, okay. Cortisol is one of the main stress hormones, okay? So the reason I'm introducing all of these is because in a moment, I'm gonna talk about the relationships between all of them and how they all impact one another. Because once we understand what they do and we understand how they affect one another, we have the tools to then figure out how do we actually manipulate our hormones to make this work for us. So it increases body fat because it actually puts sugar into the bloodstream. The stress response, and I'm going to go into this in a bit more detail in a moment, is actually there to keep us safe from a threat. So back in the day, before we could think about bills and girls in the past and the future and all of the problems our mind comes up with, back in the day before we could think about that stuff, the stress response was like, oh my God, there's a threat. I want to survive. I want to create some short-term energy so I can get out of there. So has everyone heard of the fight or flight response? Yeah, that's what the stress response is. And one result of that is actually increased blood sugar, and that is at the sacrifice of muscle mass. It will actually chew muscle mass to put blood sugar into the bloodstream so you can survive. It doesn't care about your physique in that short-term experience. But when we have prolonged chronic stress, it can lead to this kind of physique, so very skinny limbs, very little amounts of muscle, but then you actually store body fat around here. That's a very classic cortisol body profile, okay? So increased body fat, low muscle mass. We also have, the classic anxiety, stress, worry. They're all symptoms of having increased cortisol. Most of us have a lot of cortisol just with this lifestyle because we're constantly bombarded with stuff that we have to think about. Lower intelligence, because when you're stressed, man, your brain is not like, what is the best solution for this problem? It's like, as your muscles shrinking away, okay? So it literally puts you into more primitive reactive brain circuits because in a death situation, it's like, how did I survive last time? How am I gonna do it the same this time? That's why it can actually be very hard to change behaviors when you're stressed too, because you automatically default back to how did I do this last time? Pie, I feel better, okay? That's very normal. So if you go through that, that's very normal. And a weak immune system. Many of us who get stressed, straight away we get sick. It's really normal. We have that correlation. Some of us won't because it can make your immune system go the other way, but I won't go into detail with that, okay? So we have our 4 major hormones. We have the Hardy hormone. Little whistle for Josh, everyone. We have the Hardy hormone. Everyone wants to be more like Josh Hardy? Oh, no one does. I'm Josh. Do you guys, Josh is right there, guys. I do, Josh. Hey. Okay, who wants to be like this guy? Who do you guys want to be yourselves? That's good. Okay, so this is like good test, no test, okay? Hairy test, lots of estrogen and cortisol. So for the most part, most men, and even women, but this is about men, will have lower levels of testosterone, increased levels of cortisol, and increased levels of estrogen. So we have less of those positive effects, and we have more of those worrisome emotional hormones that don't allow us to, they increase fat storage around these certain areas, okay? So we wanna up the test, lower the bad guys, okay? Everyone pretty clear on those hormones now? Yeah. Cool, yeah. So by now, we should understand the major sex hormones. Stress hormones aren't sex hormones, guys, so just consider that, but estrogen and testosterone are sex hormones, and their functions in the body. It's pretty simple. When the body needs to do something, it's going to send that chemical messenger out. and it's going to do a job. But because our lifestyles have changed so much and the inputs that are coming into our body have changed so much, now all of a sudden our body is producing all these chemicals that it once wouldn't have done in a natural environment because we're exposed to this toxin, this chemical, this stress, this food, and now the brain's like, okay, how do I balance this out? Estrogen, cortisol, and it starts to get a little bit out of whack. So we need to consider, how do we start to return these things to a state where we can actually start to incorporate some balance? I'm just going to sit. Okay, how do imbalances form? Why is it that so many people have these problems? And if we know how they form, how do we start to correct them? So I'm going to go hormone by hormone. I'm going to talk about how it can potentially be low. Then we're going to talk about strategies to increase each hormone or decrease each bad hormone. Okay? So first one is just not producing enough testosterone. So if you don't have the ingredients, imagine you're trying to make a testosterone cake, but you don't have all the ingredients. If you're not putting the right substrates in, your body physically doesn't have the stuff it needs to make the hormone. So before we even consider how do we lower stress, how do we lower estrogen, we need to make sure you have the stuff to make the stuff. Because if you don't have the stuff, you're wasting your time. You're asking your body to do something that's near impossible. So first we need to consider what is required. So has anyone tried to naturally increase their testosterone before? Nope. Yeah, what kind of stuff did you do when you did it?
Just altering diet, like mushrooms, actually a little bit bacon fat apparently.
Very nice, yeah.
And just less sugars, less carbs.
Cool.
And exercise, obviously.
Perfect.
And fasting schedule as well.
Perfect. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so there's a lot of ways. You've hit a few on the head there. First is there's a few essential minerals, okay? Zinc is one of them. I will make a list. Man, I was under the pump when I did this, so I don't have a complete list for you guys. I'm going to make a list of common foods that have these things, but also we sell supplements that do all of this as well. So if you want to go down the supplement route, you can just eat it and then you're like, ooh, I feel great. Or you can eat sunflower seeds and do the same thing, okay? So there's various ways to do it. Selenium is another one. And then we have vitamin D3. So although there's a lot of mixed, does everyone know what vitamin D is? Comes from the sun, yeah. So it's very important to get sunlight. There's this weird philosophy that humans are separate to nature. We're like, okay, there's nature and there's humans. And the rules of nature do not apply to humans, but we came from nature. So if you were to take a plant that once grew in the sun and just put it in a little dark house, it's not going to be the same. So we need to consider with humans, we need to expose ourselves to the environment that we evolved in, okay? So we need to get sunlight. We need to have a nutrient-rich diet. So sunlight is extremely important. If you don't get enough sunlight, you can supplement it. Around 90% of people are deficient in vitamin D3, so it's very important. I supplement it. It's in some of the products we sell as well, but it's super cheap, so D3 is really important. Sufficient calories. If your body isn't eating enough, it's not going to be thinking about building, okay? If we think testosterone is associated with building, if you're not eating enough, your body is not going to be pouring fuel into building because it can't build. So if we don't put enough into our body, it's not going to be in what we call an anabolic state. I'll write that down, okay? So anabolic is when our body is building, and testosterone is our main anabolic hormone. Boom. Okay. We also need sufficient fat intake. So this molecule here, it was originally once cholesterol. So all hormones, and I'm going to show a little flow chart of this eventually, were once cholesterol. So unfortunately, there was a lot of dogma and stigma through a long period of time where fat was demonized. Did you, who here is in their 30s, 40s? Who was in the low fat time? Where that was a big thing. Yeah, that was actually, I don't want to be it was a conspiracy. It was a conspiracy. So yeah, there was literally politics involved that one guy's theory weighed out over another guy's theory. And then they're like, fat is bad, fat makes fat. Let's put sugar in everything and remove fat from everything. Unfortunately, for hundreds of thousands of years prior to that, fat was a major part of our diet. Fat is actually essential to making hormones. So fat got demonized for a long time. So that's part of the contributing problem. So when people are like, cholesterol is bad, cholesterol is actually what makes hormones. Has anyone here heard of statins or cholesterol blocking drugs? They actually, sorry for the F-bomb, they fuck your hormones because you no longer have no cholesterol. So you can't make hormones. You can't make hormones. So don't touch statins. If anyone says it, your doctor is an idiot, okay? But there's a lot of research you can look into on that kind of thing. So cholesterol and having a sufficient amount of fat is extremely important. Exercise. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail into like the duration of exercise and the type of exercise, but we're made to move. Full stop. We weren't like, if we had to hunt to survive, if we laid and sat at a computer, we wouldn't survive, okay? So we're evolved to continually move and to continually do things. This is why our brain's so big, because we're like the most complex movers, probably not the most complex, but what animals do you know that can do this? This is pretty cool, and with this I can do so many other things. So having the ability to move is actually very, very healthy. Adequate sleep. Who here gets enough sleep? Woo! I'm jealous of you. Nah, I'm getting there. What's that?
I go to bed early and I wake up early.
She's nailed it. High testosterone. I go to bed early and DHT, the hairy one. So unfortunately, this is just another product of our busy lives. So a lot of time we sleep procrastinate is because during the day, we haven't had enough time to do things we love. So at night, we try and squeeze those things in because we've been so busy working and meeting other people's needs. So it gets to like 10 o'clock and you're like, yes, I can watch something on my phone. But then you're killing yourself at the same time. So it's a bit of a scary thing, okay? And masculine behaviors. So flirting with a girl increases your testosterone, okay? Imagine like, you know, that's why Nav has way too much. Careful of Nav, girls. Careful. And boys. Yeah, you know, even going into like playing a sport, aggressive situations, these things, you know, naturally, that primal thing gets woken up in front of you. So we have to consider the context in which we're in really influences how we feel, and how we feel is a chemical state. So when you're doing risk-taking behavior, going on a motorbike, playing sport, all of these things, being confident, being aggressive, they increase your test. Because if you're just laying there doing nothing, why would your body produce this amazing hormone if it doesn't need to, okay? So these are all the things we need to do just to make sure we produce enough test. Another thing, within sufficient calories, I'm also implying that you're eating nutrient-dense food. So you want sufficient nutrition, not just like 3,000 calories of rice, okay? It needs to have something there. So unfortunately, testosterone can go into different pathways. So if we think back to that crazy subway thing, one thing that can happen to test, my glorious test can turn into estrogen. No, I was doing so well, getting all my tests, and now it's all become estrogen. No, huh? Yeah, who here likes boobies? Hey, who likes having boobies? That's Josh's joke, by the way, guys. Okay, so there's an enzyme called aromatase, okay? And aromatase, if I put a little thing here, aromatase, how do I spell that? Aromatase. Aromatase can make test turn into estrogen. Doesn't sound nice. Doesn't sound nice, does it? Okay, so when you have a lot of aromatase, you end up with lowered test and increased estrogen, which is a big reason why a lot of guys have lower test and more estrogen, because they may have the stuff to make it, they make it, and then their body's like, oh, let's just put that into estrogen, put that into estrogen, put that into estrogen, okay? So what increases aromatase and how do we reduce aromatase? So first of all, body fat. The more body fat you have, this is why it's a very vicious cycle, the more body fat you have, the more aromatase you produce. So the fatter you get, the more likely you are to put on more body fat. And we're going to talk about this in context with our results later. You want to eat more cruciferous vegetables, okay? They're very, very, very good for you. Supplementation. So we actually have supplements here that have a lot of the ingredients that will help detoxify estrogen and remove aromatase, or at least block the action. Yep.
You just rattle off a few examples.
Oh yeah, cruciferous, sorry, like cabbages, cauliflowers, broccolis. Anyone else know any? Kale. Not necessarily. Beans are not, because you lose. No, joking. But green things in that family are very, very powerful, okay? A lot of people will grow broccoli sprouts and do stuff with broccoli sprouts as well, okay? Decrease stress. In all of these lists, you're going to see stress arises, because any stress on the body will affect the way the body works in a nutshell, okay? So there's no point doing any glamorous things to try to change your health if you're stressed, because your body's going to be so concerned about that stress. It thinks it's going to die. You really need to address that, okay? Reducing alcohol intake. Unfortunately for guys, this is a big one. I've got a slide on this in the next slide. I'm going to talk about that. Beer especially is a nasty one. Green tea is really good. Black tea, I forget, what are they called? Catagens? Yeah, there's certain, yeah. You can supplement the thing itself, but instead of having something like coffee, you can have green tea, and that helps block aromatase as well. We have flavonoids and antioxidants. Flavonoids, like in citrus peels and the outer parts of fruits. So when I'm just generally speaking, if we have some logic with our health, if we eat in-season produce and a variety of different produces, and we eat some of the skins and some of the natural things, we're going to have a lot of the good stuff that stops these things from happening. But again, you can go down the supplementation route. I wouldn't personally with that. If you address the big things, unless you're going to be some crazy bodybuilder, you don't need a supplement with something like a flavonoid. Okay? And then decrease inflammation. So a lot of people here are probably unfamiliar with what inflammation is. Can I have a raise of hands? Who's really certain on it? Okay, no one. Okay. So I'll describe inflammation. Has anyone heard of that term before? Yes. Okay. Just throw some keywords in the air to spark.
Muscle soreness.
Yes, very true. Okay. So inflammation is also one of the big problems we have in our modern society. So to describe what inflammation is, it's an immune response. So the easiest way to describe this, has anyone had a splinter before that was in there for a while? And in time, it starts to get like really red and irritated and puffy, and that's your, sorry? Swelling, yes. And what that is, that's what we call local inflammation. And that's the body's attempt to kind of idealize the environment for the immune system to work. So it's like, how do I make this work the best? I'm going to make this hotter. I'm going to bring more fluid there, because in those conditions, chemical reactions can occur more effectively. So all the cells can work a little bit better. That's what we call localized inflammation. Then we have what we call systemic inflammation. Systemic is when your whole system becomes inflamed. So who here has had the flu? Yay! And who here wants Josh's body? Nobody. Shut up, Josh. No, I do know. Okay, so when we are sick, when we have the flu, it's not the bacteria that makes us feel terrible. It's the immune response. So the same way that it feels terrible and swelling, and we have that little shitty feeling around the what was it? I forget what. Splinter, yes. When we have a sickness through our entire body becomes inflamed. So our entire body, our immune system is priming us to heal ourselves. So that's systemic inflammation. So when I say we need to decrease inflammation, most of us have some degree of systemic inflammation. Why is that? It's because of a lot of things. So one of them is stress. A huge one is diet and gut health. So when we put things in our body that our body doesn't like, and unfortunately today I cannot tell you those things because we all come from such a diverse genetic lineage, okay? We all come from such a diverse line of hereditary. So if you've grown up in this climate with this diet and you've grown up in this climate with this diet, the foods that you now have evolved to eat are different. But when we put foods in our body that our body doesn't agree with, it gets a little bit sick. So I was like, oh, what is that? Oh, immune system, go. And then it starts to like fight it. It's like, I don't know what that is. Kill it, okay? And then you start to get some form of systemic inflammation. Inflammation has been linked to most modern diseases. It has been linked to depression. It's been linked to anxiety. So it is a very, very serious thing. So when we're trying to lower aromatase, we're also trying to consider just generally how do we make our body healthier? So how do we eat foods that after we eat them, we're waiting to see how we feel. Yeah, I feel good. Okay, that one's okay. And that's the process of finding out for you individually what foods inflame you. And this is, first of all, make sure you're not stressed. Because if you're stressed and your digestion is not working, you eat something, you're probably going to feel terrible. Okay? So make sure you're not stressed. Then you start to eat foods. And if you feel great afterwards, you know that food's good for you. If you don't, you don't. There's things called elimination diets, and there's specific diets where you can start to identify which food groups actually piss your body off and create that response within you. And that's very unique, but there are very common things. Gluten is one of them. Sorry, people who love gluten. I love gluten too, but I love-hate relationship, much like Nikki. No, joking. I love her. She hates me. No. We have gluten. We have dairy, unfortunately. What was that?
She does now.
Happy wife, mate. Yeah. No. Dairy, unfortunately. Does everyone want me to preface a little bit about why dairy is bad? Yeah. Sure. Okay. First of all, when you're not a cow and you're drinking from a cow's boob, it's a bit weird, okay? It's hard to study nutrition because there's so many factors, but they had one study called the China study, and they looked at how casein affected people, and it was known to be very inflammatory. So that's, you've got like the curds in the whey. Whey is like whey protein, which we all take. The curds are like what's in cheese. So unfortunately, cheese is very devilish. Love-hate relationship with cheese. Damn your cheese, damn your. So casein protein is quite bad. Then we have to consider milk when it comes fresh and it's raw. It's actually prepackaged with enzymes and bacteria that help us digest it more effectively. But when we need to sell it and when we need it to have more shelf life and we like treat it, we kill those things. So essentially, something that was once alive is now dead. So we're drinking this dead stuff that doesn't have all the things that would have helped us digest it originally. And then finally, when we homogenize it, so homo means the same, homosexual. Hey, hi. Homogenize is making everything the same size. So when we do that to the fat particles, they actually become so small that they can actually go straight through our cell walls and leak into our bloodstream. And then when the immune system's like, why is there milk in the bloodstream? Attack! Attack the milk! And then we have a problem, okay? So there's a lot of things that contribute to dairy not being good for us. Some people are okay on it. In my experience, I had massive sinus infections all of my adolescence. I had surgery and stuff in my nose. As soon as I stopped dairy, like 80% of that went away. And a lot of people will have that effect. You stop it for a week, you don't even realize how bad you were feeling. You reintroduce it, you're like, oh, what the, you know? So you need that contrast. You need to eliminate it for a while to see how it makes you feel. Everyone clear on that? Other examples, just things that aren't real, random numbered things and chemicals and poisons in food, you know, refined sugar in large amounts. These are all the things you have to be careful of. Beyond that, it gets very specific. So gluten, dairy, sugar, refined things, they're generally things that create inflammation within our bodies. Training does as well. If you're training like a fucking dog and your body's like, oh, I'm in pain, your whole body's actually inflamed. So you have to consider how much you're dosing these quote unquote good things, okay? That's aromatase, okay? Decreased body fat. Body fat makes a lot of it. Eat more veggies, supplementation, decrease stress, reduce alcohol intake, green tea, flavonoids. So just think healthy, fresh vegetables and fruits and peels and seeds and things. Decrease inflammation. Okay, so this is a beer belly. Very beautiful. I didn't have a picture of a pregnant lady, but you could transpose a picture of a pregnant lady over the top of this and it would look very similar. Why is that? Who can guess? Estrogen, hormones, yeah. Okay, so beer itself actually has hops in it, and hops contain phytoestrogens. They're actually chemically very, very, very similar to estrogen. So not only are you getting the aromatase when you drink the alcohol, you're getting estrogen at the same time. So if you are going to drink something, A, drink less because it's bad for you, learn to be happy without it. B, try and avoid beer, because beer itself, especially those really fruity, nice, hoppy beers, they're the worst. Because, yeah, no, you're killing you. No. But yeah, that's the reality. Once you have the information, it's up to you to decide what you do with it. But once you know, like that's why that's so common in beer drinkers, is because of the hops as well. So rum and something non-sugary, okay? Yeah, so there are alternatives, and you have to consider, it's your choice. If you love beer enough to love having high estrogen, it's the trade-off. But once you make that trade-off and stop having beer and you feel better, you realize it doesn't really matter in the end. But you have to get over that initial hump of like, no, my beer, no, screw you, Joel, my cheese, no. Okay, so that's aromatase. Now we need to consider testosterone becoming hairy man testosterone, okay? The Meraki. If we go all the way back, let's go. Here's a picture of Mez, see? Redhead Mez, okay. So we want to prevent it from being DHT. This is a little bit weird, honestly. For most of us, we wouldn't have to be too concerned about this. The ingredients that do it are a little bit unusual. We have a supplement that stops it, so I just take that. It's quite expensive, so I've listed the ingredients here. We sell something called Alpha Mars. So Alpha Mars has ingredients that not only naturally increase testosterone, lower stress levels, but then it blocks the conversion of testosterone into DHT. So we don't have to worry about us all becoming hairy and bald, okay? So some of the things that are good, again, green tea came up there, curcumin, which is the active ingredient in turmeric. If you ever see something that's studied about curcumin, just take turmeric. Don't just take curcumin. Curcumin is like, imagine if I had like a really amazing fruit, and then I'm like, instead of eating the fruit, I'm going to extract the one chemical from the fruit that I think is the best bit, and then just not eat the rest. Like, think about it in nature. It's all packaged to work really well together, so eat it together. So mung on a turmeric root. Buy some from the spice section and eat it, okay? Or we have a product called CODRX that has really high quality turmeric in it as well. Reishi mushrooms, I've heard are good. Fenugreek, ginseng, and nettle root are all in alpha Mars, and zinc is on there as well. So zinc is a must for guys. I wouldn't worry too much about this unless you know there's a history of hairy male pattern baldness in your family. And in that case, you consider it, okay? So now we have to consider the relationship between stress. How am I going for time, by the way?
Yeah, you're pretty good. 7 to 10.
Okay, I'll slow down a little bit. Okay. Now we have to consider the relationship between stress and testosterone. So when we're talking about test, I wrote down the word anabolic here, okay? You gotta use the hips. Yeah. There's a little bit down here.
Yeah, you're slowing it down.
Okay. Oh, damn it, okay. That's just the highlight snippet. Just put me doing that. Okay. We have anabolic. Has everyone heard of the term catabolic? Catabolic implies breaking down, okay? Anabolic implies building up. The body can't do lots of things at once. Let's just pretend the body is a guy's brain, okay? It's like, let's do one thing. What two things? What the hell? Okay, that's how the body works, because it's like all resources go. This is our main thing that we have to focus on right now. Is that my butt? I never do that. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to talk about the autonomic nervous system. I'm not going to go too deep into this. Really, there's two states we can be in. We can be in rest and digest. Everybody yell out rest and digest. Rest and digest. Yeah, okay. Ooh, Navarre. I didn't even finish. Rest and digest. Then we have fight or flight, okay? So really, autonomic implies automatic, okay? Fight or flight. So this is why it's hard navigating this modern lifestyle, because we also have an animal brain. We have a brain that's like, threat, okay? Or like, I can finally relax. So when we're trying to integrate this really like non-evolved brain that's always looking for fear and is always trying to keep us safe with our modern lifestyles, it can lead to stress. For the most part, many of us spend a lot of time in this fight or flight state. Let me just check what my next one is. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so basically think of this as like a spectrum, as like a balancing thing. You're gonna either be like, ooh, I'm rest and digesting, my hormones are really good, you know, I'm anabolic, I'm building up, I feel good. Oh shit, like I'm getting stressed, I need to do something, I gotta move. So we're, depending on the perceived environment that we're in, our body will create a certain response. So in psychology, we say perceived environment because two people could be in the same environment and the way they both recognize that can completely change their perception and thus whether they think it's a problem or not, and thus whether they have a stress response or not, okay? So one person's like, yes, that's fine, and the other person's like, ah! One person's gonna be stressed, the other isn't, okay? So we have to consider, actually I'll flesh this out a little bit more. When we're in a rest or digest state, we also call it breed and feed. Someone say breed and feed.
Breed and feed!
So is everyone seeing the pattern of how these are kind of opposite ends of the spectrum? If we think purely on the most basic survival sense, if we're not trying to fight for our lives, what would we be doing? Eating and breeding. Look at any animal, that's how they work, okay? That's the very most basic survival. So when we're in feed and breed and rest and digest, we have increased sex hormones. Okay? Our digestion works better. Our immune system works better. Think of these as long-term things. So if you're not immediately presented with something that's going to hurt you in the short term, your body's like, I can worry about the long term. I can actually assimilate some nutrients. I can worry about making a baby. I can fight illness. But if I'm about to punch Heinrich in the head, he's not going to be like, better digest this food right now. He's like, no, all systems go. I better defend myself. I've got to survive. So then later I can do that. So these are the two systems, okay? When we're in a catabolic fight or flight state, we actually have increased blood pressure. I just think of this as like all systems go. Imagine you're a submarine, it's like, woo, woo, and all the guys are like, oh my God, get the torpedoes going, okay? And we've got increased blood pressure, increased blood sugar, increased heart rate. So has anyone like almost crashed into someone like, oh, and then or something really hectic happens? Nav's like, nope, no. when something really intense happens, that's your instantaneous stress response being triggered. That's your body like, I need to pump my heart faster to pump more fuel. I need to put sugar in my body to have energy. I need to survive right now because this is it. That's what your brain is thinking on the most basic level without you even realizing. That's how quickly it happens. Happens without thinking, hey guys. Yeah, good hands in the air. Thank, boo, boo. Okay, so you can see how one is about long-term, one is about short-term, okay? This is when we get very reactive as well. So it doesn't really make any sense that if we're in a stress state, we'd have very good hormones. It's just not what our body's concerned about. So they're very inverse things. Oh, one of my cool pictures is gone. Oh, it didn't sync. Okay, the other thing we need to consider is there's many forms of stress. We call this allostatic load. So there's many things that collectively add up to produce stress. So it's not necessarily just a threat. I'll just wipe something off. I'll just say it. Okay, so we have to consider, we have internal stresses. So we have like, what have we put into our body? What are we thinking about, you know? Like how are we currently feeling our emotions? Like everyone's cried and then afterwards, oh my God, I feel a million times better. All these things are internal stresses. Then we have to worry about money, worry about our relationships, worry about our douchebag boss, you know? We have to consider, worry about all these things. Am I overheated right now? Is there enough blood sugar in my system? All these little tasks that the brain has to consider are like load that add and add and add. And once that exceeds a certain threshold, that's when it becomes stress. So if you're a pretty chill dude and something happens, but then another thing happens, another thing, ooh, okay, then you start to have the stress coming in. So we have to consider everything collectively adds up as a stress over time. And that load, the more we can lower that load, the more likely we are to tip the scales back into feeling sexy and recovering and eating, okay? Does that make sense, guys? Cool, we're keeping up. So this just shows us as well, do you guys remember I said everything starts as fats? All our hormones start as fat. At the very top there we have cholesterol, okay? So we're gonna go down two pathways along this top line. So you go down from cholesterol to pregnenolone to progesterone, it can become cortisol. That is our main stress hormone. Or it can somehow get down here and then become testosterone. So it's like we have one guy shoveling fuel, is that little guy gonna be like, oh my God, torpedoes? Or is it going like, oh, sexy time, you know? We have to consider where is the fuel of the body going. So if you're using all of your fats to make stress hormone, there's none left to make your other hormones. So they're very much two different things. Everyone make sense with stress now? Cool. All right, so how do we lower it? How do we feel better? Oh, there's my cool picture. Okay, there's the allostatic load picture, okay? So just to show, there's jobs, there's bills, we have life changes, pollution, relationships, lack of sleep, illness, fear, nutrition, physical strain. That can include strain on your body as in tightness, tension, injuries. It can be overexerting yourself physically. All of these things collectively are stress. Stress is not just this one little compartmentalized thing. Everything that's happening to us is a form of stress. So if we can learn to manage these and lower these, we're gonna affect our hormones really positively. Okay, so the mindset aspect of this is challenging. Like we all experience stress. So in 5 minutes, I'm not going to be able to be like, hey, you're all healed. Woo, we all feel great, okay? But I'm just going to throw up some general things you can start to think about, and whichever ones kind of hit home for you, go and do one of them, and then you're going to feel a lot better. Okay, so the first is have more fun. Fill up your emotional cup and meet your own needs, okay? So stop putting other people first. Stop worrying about what society wants. Stop worrying about your parents or your friends wants. If you want to go eat some watermelon and that yummy watermelon, okay? That's the first thing. And most people struggle at doing that because we're very caught up in trying to appease the needs of other people. Second thing is manage yourself more effectively. Budget better, manage your time better, you know, make lists. Have less chaos in your life, because if you're always like, it can be stressful. I can attest to that just a little bit. Okay, practice mindfulness and meditation to reduce mental chatter. How would you guys feel if someone was constantly yelling at you like, you're crap, you're not worth it? That's what our voice in our head does all the time. That's very stressful. Imagine if you put a kid in a corner and just yelled at them 24 hours a day. They're going to feel terrible. That's what we do to ourselves. So we need to very much consider our internal dialogue. Doesn't matter how much you sleep and nap if you're yelling at yourself all the time. Okay? Think less about the past and the future. If you're trying to be happier, you have to contextualize. Can I change the past? No. Can I predict the future? No. Why are you thinking about it then? Honestly, like you can spend all the time justifying reasons, but it's never going to change anything. If you're positively reflecting and learning from your past experiences, cool. But if you're judging the past version of yourself, like you should have done it this way. If they should have, they would have at the time. You can't go back in time and change it. That was the version of you then. This is the version of you now. Okay, so letting go of that kind of stuff. Trying to let go of controlling everything, expecting everything to be a certain way, and wanting things to be your way. Okay, so if someone doesn't say something the way you want them to, get over it, okay? You can't be like, that person should have said this a little bit better. The more you try and control everything in your life, the more stressful that becomes. And we've all been in that state, and we've seen people in that state. Develop emotional awareness and intelligence. Emotions are normal. Learn to express them, learn to understand why you're feeling them, and learn to like share them with people so you don't bottle them all up inside. Men especially, we all do this. Take life less seriously. Have everyone picked one thing off that list they're gonna do? Please, you don't have to, you can stay stressed. Okay, that's up to you, I don't care, because I'm not stressed. Okay, how to lower stress. Massive one, improve sleep quality. Try and go for 8 hours. We can all pretend that, like, I feel great with 6. Have 8 hours for a week and you'll know you're full of crap. I'm sorry, okay? Improve your gut health. What we talked a little about before with inflammation. So being aware of how foods affect you, less refined foods, just looking after your body, that's a whole nother thing, okay? Kill parasites in your gut, that's a whole nother thing. Reduce stimulants, alcohol, and drug use. Reduce physical exertion. If you're already stressed before you come to the gym and then you train 3 times a week, that's more stress. So you have to balance the amount of stress you're putting into your body, okay? This guy's a high-level athlete. Riding a lot has killed him. So it's hard to find balance. As soon as other stuff in life crops up, it adds up, you know? Decrease body fat, remove pain from your body, go get a massage, do a bit more mobility, look after your body a little bit, improve your posture and breathing. They've actually done studies where if you're in postures like this all the time, A, you can't breathe well here, but B, you actually start to feel like this. So if I'm walking, hey guys, how was your day? But if I'm like this, I'm all of a sudden assuming a much better posture, and posture is representative of body language, and body language is how we express emotions. So posture is actually an emotional hack, okay? Eat less inflammatory foods. Has everyone found something that's really obvious on that list that they should probably address? It's up to you, but write it somewhere and do it. Okay, estrogen. Dum, dum, dum. So how do we stop more estrogen forming in the body? The first is drop body fat. So not only does it create more aromatase, it actually makes estrogen in the fat cells. So certain types of fat make estrogen. So it's very unfortunate. If you already have body fat, you're fighting against an organ that's producing estrogen. Let's say you're 20% body fat. Let's say 25% body fat. You have 25% of your body producing estrogen. I don't know how significant. Is it a massive amount or is it pretty small? Sure. Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Hormone expert there. Thank you, Nikki. Cool. Improve gut health. Your gut, when it's healthy, can actually help you eliminate estrogen from your body. If it's not, you actually have bacteria that will feed on it and spit it back into your bloodstream. So if you have poor gut health, you're gonna more likely have more estrogen. It doesn't matter about all the sups you're putting in. If your gut's not working, you can't eliminate it, okay? So if you have a lot of GI tract issues, constipation, those kind of things, if you just notice foods bother you, you probably have a gut problem. It's good to address that. We have a product that does help gut health, but if anyone just wants to talk to us afterwards, if anything's like, oh God, that really resonates with me, talk to us afterwards, and in the Q&A or just personally, we'll talk to you about it. Lower stress levels. Hug yourself. Yeah, I feel great. Okay. Reduce liver toxicity. Less caffeine, less alcohol, less medication, less toxic exposure. All of these things, your liver is having to process that stuff. And if it's busy processing those things, it can't detoxify estrogen and other things out of your body because it's too busy getting poison out. So your body's like, I need to get rid of the estrogen. Oh wait, there's alcohol there. Okay, I better get rid of that poison. Okay, so it can only process so much at once. If we're constantly putting shit in our bodies, it's constantly having to filter all this other shit out. It can't even do what it needs to do. Okay, plastic exposure. This is a massive one. Plastics have, are they xenoestrogens, Nikki? Xenoestrogen? Yeah. So much like hops have phytoestrogens, this is estrogen here, by the way, guys. Some things in nature have very, very similar compounds that when you eat them, your body actually thinks they're hormones. So plastic has those things within them. So if you heat food up in plastic, especially if it gets hot because more of it leaches out, doesn't matter if it's BPA free. Any kind of plastic, the softer, the worse it is because it's less rigid, you know, it's easier for it to sap out. If you heat up food in plastic, if you drink from plastic, especially if it gets warm, you're actually drinking estrogen. So minimize that, get some glass tubs, heat something up on a plate, get a metal water bowl. Just try to have less things from plastic, and then we're throwing less in the ocean as well. Soy is an estrogen, alcohol is estrogenic, so reduce those as much as possible. If you're gonna have soy, have it organic and have it fermented, okay? That's, if you look at any food, look at how culture traditionally prepares it. They have a big process of how they normally do it, but then white guy comes along, we'll just package it like this and eat it. No, it doesn't work like that. So you have to consider the natural heritage. Garlic and onion, I forget why, but they're good. Sulfur, thank you, Nikki. Album foods, yeah. Garlic, onions, those kind of things are really good. Just if we think with our common sense, more whole foods from a good quality source, organic if possible. When we're talking about liver toxicity, if someone sprayed poison all over something, your body's gonna have to be detoxifying that as well. So if you can get spray-free or organic, it's definitely worth it, but there's a lot of things to work on. So choose a couple, work on those. You don't have to do it all at once. It can be very overwhelming. Okay, so now we should understand, and I'll kind of just go back so we know what's up because we've covered a lot. We should understand that first of all, we need to make sure we're producing testosterone, okay? Once we've got the right building blocks in the body, we're sleeping, we've got some calories, we've got some fat, we've got our zinc and selenium, then we need to make sure that we're not converting that into estrogen, okay? So we're avoiding the things that create aromatase, okay? Stress, alcohol, all of those. You guys are gonna get access to these slides as well, and we're gonna make a little game plan at the end. Make sure you avoid that. No, not the beer, no. Then we have to make sure it's not becoming DHT, only if that feels relevant to you. Alpha Mars is great, but there's a list of things there. Then lower your stress, okay? This is in any aspect of health, less stress, the better. If your body is constantly creating high blood sugar, how are you gonna lose weight if you always have sugar in your bloodstream? Doesn't matter if you're not eating it, your body's gonna be chewing your own muscle and making it. It's gonna be, that's why we have that skinny fat profile. Your body's like, I don't need muscle, I'm about to die. I'm gonna make this into sugar, and then you don't use it, so you store it as fat, and you continue that process. So the more you lower your stress levels, the more likely you easily build muscle. You have less stress, but more test, okay? So there's my cool picture. Yay, round of applause for the picture. Joel found it, guys, woo! Hey. Okay, and we have to look after yourself mentally. Just do yourself a favor, whatever favor that is, on a day-to-day basis. And look after yourself physically. Treat your body like a temple, okay? So we should now understand how to influence your hormone levels to create a more optimal, balanced hormone state within the body. Are you guys fairly familiar with that now? Cool. Is anyone confused? Is anyone lost on anything? Nope, we're good? Okay, are you good? That's all that, ooh. Is anyone, okay. So, I want to now contextualize. At the start of this, I said we'll talk about fat loss, we'll talk about muscle gain. So I want to think, if we're considering hormones and considering the other information that we haven't shared with you guys yet, but I'll talk about how to lose fat optimally and how to gain muscle optimally, then I'm going to contextualize the main mistakes people make, and then how do we consider hormones. So fat loss, don't we all want to lose fat instantly, right now, in 30 days, in 5 minutes per day? Okay. How do we lose fat? First of all, for those of you who don't know, I'm just going to quickly re-clarify this. Have you heard of a calorie deficit, PJ? Have you heard of a calorie deficit? Okay, so we want to be in a caloric deficit. What does that mean? It means we want to be consuming slightly less than we're burning. Makes sense, okay? Yeah. And how do we do that? Ugh.
Eat less.
Yes. Yes, it says it there, actually. Well done. So that's what we do. We want to increase activity to some degree, and we want to decrease intake, because that is going to create, the more active we are and the less we eat, we're going to have a deficit. And deficit just means, if I have to eat this amount, so say this is a line, say I have to eat 2,000 units of food to maintain my weight. If I burn a little bit more, now I need like 2,200. If I eat a little bit less, and I start eating like 1,800, I've now made a 400 deficit. Does that make sense, guys? Cool, super simple. So that's the first step. But that does not consider hormones at all. We're not considering hormones in the slightest. So how many people eat next to nothing and they still don't lose weight? Exactly. So there's the hormones considering that. If we don't have tests stopping fat from coming in, or if you have excessive amounts of stress hormone, estrogen, your body's just going to make fat. Doesn't matter what you do. You're going to struggle to build muscle, so all your training isn't really going to amount to much. It's just going to be extra stress. And your body is then just going to be like, I'm going to make more fat, and it's not going to feel fun, okay? So the biggest mistakes most people make is they eat too little and they train too hard. Because when I was talking about testosterone, if you don't have sufficient nutrients in your body becomes stressed. And most people make the mistake, they're like, I want to lose weight fast. Let's just consider an average person is already very stressed. Okay, we already have so much on our plates. Mind's going, job, relationship, all of that stuff. Trying to look cool when I don't know what a cool haircut is. You're trying to think about all these things. Then you don't eat enough. Then you start to do physical exertion on a regular basis. That is going to stress your body out. Your body's going to stop producing as much testosterone. You're going to start producing more stress hormone. Pretty obvious, right? Yet we all get very stuck in the creating a deficit, but we haven't gotten to the next level yet. And the next level is to consider, are we optimizing our chemical state? Because if I had one person eating, let's say 2 people, they're both eating 2,000 calories a day, okay? One of them has high test and trains like once per week. And the other one has like high cortisol that trains 4 times per week. Who's going to have a better body? The test guy. It's not about, we have to consider the way we eat and the way we train are tools, they're inputs, and they're designed to create a response within the body. So if I say, body, lift a weight, if I use the right amount of weight with the right dosage, the body's going to be like, that was good, I'm going to respond positively. But if I've got this stressed out body, I'm like, hey, body, lift some weights, it's like, oh no, eventually your body's going to feel terrible. So the input we put into the body is very contextual to where your body's at. Most of us are already too stressed to train really hard. So what do we do with this person? I don't even remember what I said. What did I say to do? Oh yeah, you're also going to have stress from a shitty diet because diets suck. Who likes dieting? Yay, thank you. Why did you guys not put your hand up again? No, he likes dieting. He looks really happy and healthy. Okay, so solutions. First of all, you don't want to starve yourself. The last thing you want to do is starve yourself. So if I was training myself and I was really stressed, first of all, I would reduce stress. There's no point even trying to add all of this training if you're stressing out like a mad person. So eat healthier, eat at maintenance calories or maybe just below. There's no point taking your nutrients away. Get more good nutrients in, more good fat, and then add in a small volume of training. You want to get your body back to a healthy baseline first. You don't want to just push your body harder and harder and harder. You're not going to get a response, okay? So first of all, increase food, lower training volume. When I said cycle carbs or calories, if you're eating a little bit less throughout the week, eat a little bit more on weekends. Give your body a chance to recover. Okay, it's all about putting into the body, we're trying to get an anabolic response, not a catabolic response, okay? And then create systems and strategies to minimize stress within your life. So a big mistake people make is they think they're using weight training to burn calories. But ultimately, the way I see weight training is to preserve muscle mass or build muscle mass. And you don't need a lot of training to do that. If you're trying to lose weight and you train twice a week and your nutrition is doing the rest, you don't need to train any more than that because that is going to make sure your body is okay. This is if you're already stressed and you're struggling to lose weight, okay? There's no point doing more and more and more. You're burning yourself into a hole. You need to consider, why am I lifting? So I don't lose muscle. If I lift some stuff, my body's like, well, I don't want to lose my muscle because I've just had to lift this really ridiculously heavy object, so I'm going to keep that muscle. But if you're already strained, already not eating enough, you're training like a dog, you're just going to burn through muscle because your body has no fuel. So where is it going to get its fuel from? From muscle, okay? So you want to eat a little bit more, train a little bit less, use the dosage relative to how you feel. As you lower stress in your life, your body will start to have a better hormonal balance and you'll lose weight more easily, okay? So don't think of training as what burns calories. Think of training as maintaining muscle. Use your nutrition a little bit to lower calories too. But don't go extreme at first if you're struggling to lose weight. Hormone considerations. They're the same for both building muscle and losing weight. Minimize estrogen. So if we go back to that list, all the things that make you turn your test into estrogen, minimize those things. Stress, your gut health, green tea. We'll go back to the list, but first of all, you want to minimize estrogen, okay? Very, very important. Second is minimize stress. Third is maximize testosterone. So for anything you do, you want to adhere to these things, but again, we want to make sure we're not overtraining, we're not under-eating, because that's just going to stress your body out far too much, okay? Does that make sense, guys? Pretty simple, cool. And then for muscle gain, how do we gain muscle? We want progressive overload plus a caloric surplus. A progressive overload means we're progressively loading our muscles with a slightly larger stimulus over time, okay? As we lift a little bit heavier, the body's like, well, I better respond to that. I better respond, and then eventually you look like Josh. Woo, Josh, hey. okay? And a caloric surplus means you're eating a little bit more than you were because then your body actually has something to build something with. If you're eating this much, how am I going to put on weight? It's impossible. A lot of people are like, I'm going to lift big and put on weight, but they don't eat. And they're like, where is this weight coming from? It comes from nowhere. So we need to make sure we do those two things. It's as simple as that. But what are the pitfalls? The first thing is we need to remember in both aromatase and in estrogen production, the higher your body fat percentage, the more likely you are to produce estrogen. So you don't want to bulk if you already have high body fat percentage. The key is to stay lean, okay? If you stay around 10 to 15% body fat, you're less likely to make all your testosterone into estrogen. So always get lean first, lose, then bulk, okay? The second pitfall is guys see food and eat it. They eat everything and they eat way too much, so they put on more fat, but they also eat all these really foods that aren't beneficial to us. So if you already have an estrogen problem or a stress problem and you're eating more shit, it's not gonna help.
What was that? In between body fat percentage?
10 to 15, ideally, yeah. So like if I was training myself or a client, I'd put them on like let's say I was doing a fat loss diet, I'll put them on moderate load training, 3 times a week, depending on how stressed they are. Calorie controlled diet, let them lose some weight. Once they're under that 15% mark, ideally 10, then I'll start to build muscle. Most people need to lean up first. That's just the bottom line. Because as you get leaner, your hormones get better. Then focus on building, okay? And then a lot of guys overtrain and under recover. We're all already stressed. Doing a 5-day split, when you need to take pre-workout and take coffee and all these things to actually make it to the gym to even get stronger isn't beneficial. So you want to see training as supplementary to your life. If you're already stressed, don't train as much. If you want to train more, reduce the stress. That's the bottom line. You can't train yourself into a hole while you're stressed. We can do it. Troy is pretty good at doing it, but it's not easy, Like, it takes a lot of willpower, and there's easier ways to do it. Literally. All right, solutions. So get to 10% body fat, try never exceed 15%. You can play around with this. Some people lose fat really easily, some people gain it really easily. If you lean bulk, and when I say lean bulk, get lean, stay lean, and slowly put on weight, you're never going to encounter as many issues. You're never going to have as much estrogen and as much cortisol because your body's in a better state. If your body's in a better state, it does things better. It works better, okay? Avoid inflammatory foods. So don't do the seafood and eat it diet. I'm bulking, I can eat 3 kilos of macas. I've been there, okay? It doesn't work, okay? It's not beneficial. Match your training load to your lifestyle stress. Remember, load is that you grow when you're not in the gym. You train, it creates a stimulus. When you're recovering is when you actually build. When you're in anabolic is when you actually build. If you're stressed, when you're in the gym, that's actually catabolic. You're breaking your body down, you're stressing your body out. It's at war. Then when you actually rest is when you recover. So you need to get that optimal balance, okay? Hormone considerations, exactly the same. Literally, for most of us, we need to minimize estrogen, minimize cortisol, maximize testosterone. If we go back through the lists again, get some sleep, lower your stress, avoid things that create estrogen in your body. It's very necessary to do all of these things, okay? You guys are pretty clear on that. There is that context, okay? It depends how stressed you already are. It depends on what your diet's already like. So it's all relative to your lifestyle. Okay, so now we should understand what lifestyle and hormonal factors we need to be aware of to optimize our results. We're going to do Q&A in a moment so we can get a little bit more clear on these little details, but for the most part, you guys fairly familiar with that? Yeah, we don't want to ever drive ourselves into a hole. We never want to undereat or overeat. We need to match what we're doing to our body to the demands we're placing upon our body. So, I've done a lot of talking. How do I go for time?
Yeah, pretty good.
Hey, awesome. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, we can do it. All right. So now let's Q&A. I'll rub this off. We'll see if there's like some common questions and we'll note out some solutions for you guys. Like you've got as much time as you want to get as much from me as you want. If you don't feel comfortable asking it in front of everyone, feel free to ask me. Ladies, feel free to talk to Nikki at the end too if you have any lady hormone questions because I've just forced her into doing that. That's why she love, hate. Okay. So if someone wants to yell something at me.
You suck.
Feed and breed, feed and breed. Who likes feeding and breeding? Woo. Was that too much for anyone? Does that make sense? Yep, cool. Literally, man, like it's input output. It's a dance, and there's ways to measure stress as well. So I could talk about that too.
I had a question, Joel.
Yes.
When you're talking about aromatase,
Yes.
what is aromatase good for?
Would you like to answer that, Nikki?
Well, everyone needs estrogen in their body.
It has a role, yeah.
And that's the way we get estrogen.
Yeah.
It's always produced with testosterone, so we do need a little bit of thing to have a healthy amount of estrogen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just becomes unhealthy as it decreases and we get too much estrogen.
Yeah, I see.
Thank you. Thank you, Nikita.
What do you say the benefits of green tea? Green tea was?
So it will block DHT, and it blocks aromatase as well. And it's generally just good for you.
Very strong antioxidant.
Yeah.
Good for the liver.
Yeah. Green tea is great. So like, I forgot to mention caffeine. Caffeine also converts, what does it do again?
In the liver.
Yeah, it stops the detoxification of estrogen in the liver.
Enzyme as estrogen.
Yeah.
So if you're drinking lots of caffeine, the liver struggles to detoxify estrogen because it's already been used up by all the caffeine.
Yeah.
So then you can get raised estrogen. 1 or 2 cups a day, they've done studies and it hasn't really shown much, but when people start drinking 3, 4, 5 cups a day, they can get even up to a 70% increase of estrogen.
Thank you. Round of applause for Nikki. Yeah. Do you want to come up here as well? So, literally like couple a day. If you're having to have more than 2 a day, then you've got an energy issue, an underlying energy. If you need 5 a day to get through your day, you need to look after yourself more. Yeah, if it's a habit, then like now that you're aware of the problems it may face, just go off it for a week. You'll feel like trash, and then go back.
3 litres of Coke a day to 5 coffees a day.
That's less sugar, more caffeine. But yeah, like now that you're aware of it, take a week off it. You'll feel mad withdrawals. You'll feel like absolute trash. That'll show you what it was doing to your body, and then go back to 1 or 2.
And the headaches.
Oh,
Headaches.
oh man, yeah. We had our guys on our program. We've got a men's program, and they all had to go off gluten, sugar, dairy, caffeine, and they're all like, my head, oh. They're all like in the group together whinging, like, oh, so good, so good. Okay, any specific questions about those goals or anything like that? Like,
You mentioned the diagnostic diets to figure out.
yes.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yes, okay, so a really good place to start. I'll just remember to make a link of this. Navar, my PA. So, Elimination Diet, a really good article on this is by Precision Nutrition.
I have a really good one as well, I think.
Okay, yeah, we'll get that. Basically, it tells you about what food groups to be concerned about. When we're talking about gut health as well, sorry, you're here. When we're talking about gut health as well, we have a product called Gut Right, and that has an elimination diet that they suggest to do with it. So a really easy way to do a hard reset, you buy a tub of Gut Right. It's like this very short 10-day protocol where you reduce certain foods. It kind of resets a lot of your gut bacteria. It's only 10 days, but you've eliminated some stuff for a period of time, and then you can do a continued elimination diet, for another 18 days. 28 days, 4 weeks is a good place to start. And then from there, when you reintroduce things, you'll really know what gets you. And then you have that responsibility. You have that conscious choice. You're like, okay, I know sometimes I may eat gluten, but I know I'm going to be on the toilet for a day. Like, not that dramatic, but you've got that understanding. So,
That's bad habits.
but brain fog, depression, like all of those things are the biggest things to be concerned about with inflammation. Like without realizing, most of us don't feel as good as we could because we have some level of like immune response and sickness in our body at all times. Our body's fighting a war, and it's hard to be a good person and do the things you want. We're all like, oh, I'm lazy, I have no willpower. No, we're all some level of sick, and it's hard to do stuff when you're sick. We all know that, okay? Questions?
Not so much a question.
Sure.
But, if you are having like 3 cups plus of coffee
Sure.
a day, which I'm guilty of,
Yep.
you're also having like at least 750 ml of milk.
Yes, if you have milk, yes.
So you've got the hormone caffeine. And
Yes, yes. It's like there's a lot of habits that have just become very normal in our culture that line up with the culture of capitalism. Get things done. Go, 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 go. Sugar, go, 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 go. And it's all this big problem that comes in together, So, yeah, definitely try go black. It took me like a week to get used to it. It doesn't take long. Then you can actually, yeah, you break your back. Yeah, go black. It's like an acquired taste. At first you drink beer, like, oh, and then a week later, yeah, boys, got the beers,
Don't go instant black though.
No.
Gotta go bean black.
Yeah, go bean black. It makes you a...
hardcore is just eating instant coffee.
Yeah, you can just, if you want caffeine, just take, yeah, massively. Dairy plus caffeine is not because caffeine as well increases cortisol. So cortisol is our stress hormone. It's also our energy hormone. So when we have a stimulant, all it does is ramp up stress hormone. It's not free energy, guys. Energy doesn't just appear. No, our body's like, all system torpedoes, ooh, ooh, and then you're draining those stores.
And also reducing coffee, reduce calories as well.
100%. If you're having milk, 100%. Yeah. And then it's just like you've killed so many things at once. Like, and then you're more. If you're doing something habitually, it's not a good way to live. You want to do things intentionally. You want to be like, how do I feel right now? I'm stressed. I'm not going to have a coffee. What are my main goals in life right now? Weight loss. I'm not going to have milk. Okay. But if you're just like, it's 10 a.m. You haven't even put any thought into it, and you're not living intentionally. You're living habitually. Okay.
I've got a question on theanine.
Sure.
Does that have a lot of, does that add benefits of green tea, like similar benefits of green tea in regards to things like aromatase and testosterone?
I don't think theanine has anything to do with it. It's more on the GABA pathways. But I don't actually think it affects the stress hormone anywhere near as much. It's just kind of neurotransmitter-wise that dulls your brain.
Okay.
I have no idea, to be honest. Yeah, made some words up.
If you consider exercise to be one of your de-stressing mechanisms,
Yes.
how do you find the balance between, I'm assuming it's
Yes.
personal,
Yes.
but you need to, how do you find the balance of going, not going too hard on your exercise then,
Okay.
putting yourself back into a stress hole?
Okay, so you have to consider intensity. So what's the relative effort of the exercise? Volume, so what's the stint or the amount of reps? So for you, it'd be how long are you going and the frequency. Everyone has a unique amount based on their goal at the time, based on their current recovery. When you're doing excessive amounts of cardiovascular exercise, anything over 60 minutes is when you really start to churn the stress hormone out to keep going. So you can feel it. Like once you learn to pay more attention to your body, gauge how you're feeling in the morning. If you're starting to want to gauge how stressed your body is and how recovered it is, there are devices where you can measure just your heart rate. If you measure your heart rate every morning and it starts to increase in the mornings, your body's stressed, it can't handle as much. Yes, heart rate or heart rate variability. Feel your body, feel how it's going. If you wake up and you feel trash, don't go hard, okay? So be intuitive with it. It's just like the coffee thing. If you actually listen to your body, don't let your ego get in the way. Like, let's push, yeah.
But then there's days when you sort of have to push through.
Yes.
How do you find the balance?
Yes, I would use other metrics as well. So it's just using your perception is not enough. So use your, do periodization. Get a really good plan from a coach in your sport that actually periodizes. So they vary your intensity, your volume, and your frequency based on the phase of training you're in. So not just like always one speed. You've got weeks of recovery. You've got downtime. You might go get a massage and add in recovery. Look at a metric to tell you how you're going as well, and play with all of those things. But if you don't periodize training, periodization just means you do training in blocks. So you might have like 3 hard weeks, 1 easy week, and then you might have 3 slightly harder weeks, 1 easy week, and then you have like a chill phase for a while. If you're always just going hard at everything, you start to get quite fatigued. Yeah, and then you're not getting the recovery benefits. So it kind of looks like this. You train, and then you get fatigued, and then you recover a little bit better, and you get fatigued, and in time, you should have this nice linear curve. But eventually, if you haven't had a rest for a while, it's like, and then when you have a rest, you finally may not even bounce up to there, you'll bounce to here. So it's necessary rest, compensate. That's how you work over time. So if your training performance is dropping, yeah, if you notice your performance dropping, that's the biggest. If you've got some key metrics that represent where you're at performance-wise and they're gone, you're overtrained, 100%. You'll feel it, you'll see it in your performance. You're feeling it right now, so yeah. Questions?
I'll jump in and just
Yep.
expand on what Joel, based on my own experience, when Joel says feeling your body, Joel told me that for he's been telling me that every day for a good 2 years or even longer since I've known him. But for me, I thought I was feeling my body all the time. I was like, I can feel it, I can't feel anything, and I feel fine. And you think you're not stressed, but what I would suggest for someone who, like myself, who gets caught in your head a lot of the time, and that state of overwhelm, like running around like a person who is late for a plane flight and like in a high school, when you're in that state, so that person
Sure.
So you would say anything over a period of, say, 60 minutes is where you start kicking into...
Absolutely. So if you wanted to have a recovery session, keep it at about 60 minutes, give the intensity so it doesn't feel like a massive exertion. Just get into that flow state, you know, enjoy yourself.
Actually enjoy the ride.
Yeah, and you'll know, like when you're more conditioned like yourself, that perceived level of exertion changes. So you can handle, you're conditioned to handling more. So you'll know what that relative point is. But if you're pushing for a long period of time, you're already down, adding pushing into a down body is gonna, yeah. Anything, guys. Let me just, while you guys do that, I'll just wipe this section of the board here.
What are some of the, if you're happy to share, what are some of the specific problems you guys are experiencing yourselves that you were hoping to have more awareness of how to overcome by
Very
coming
good.
to the seminar?
Mine's probably more of a testament, I suppose, being in the program.
Mm-hmm.
So cutting out dairy, cutting out gluten for the last 4 weeks has been real beneficial for myself. Beforehand, I was having dairy every day, and I was like, well, I'm waking up feeling like shit every morning. Now that I've cut it out, I feel much better. Throughout the day, I have more energy. But yeah, I think that's been the biggest thing, not knowing that dairy fed, so it's definitely for me.
That's a massive point because like, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm losing out by not having my beer or my thing, but you actually feel way better all the time. It's a temporary losing out because you like really want that thing, but after that, you look sexier, you feel better, you just have more energy. Like it's hard to put into words why this stuff's so important until you get over that hump. But once you're there, you're like, oh my God, I feel so good. And that, you can't. You eat crap for like a week, you're like, how did I do this to myself? You write in your journal, I'm sorry, Joel, why did I eat the food?
Well, I accidentally had grated cheese the other day, and I had dairy in it, and it was not very good the next day.
Love hate with cheese.
Cheese is everyone's issue. It's amazing.
How fun is mankind? We just like make the best things that kill us. It's like, just so weird it turned out that way.
Every other bit of dairy, but not cheese.
So you've come from a shepherd backline, so it's okay. And you sleep 8 hours. She sleeps, yeah.
Probably at the risk of oversharing. But
No.
There's no risk.
Don't worry, I've overshared.
That's probably when you talk about low testosterone, probably the chart you were showing is probably far worse than that because it's not very much diagnosed anyway. It took me, I thought I had cross river fever a few years ago, and it turned out to be like hormone. But it took 4 doctors to actually even suggest a hormone test.
Yes.
So that was a sort of eye-opener.
It's not even considered a lot of the time. Like hormones aren't, they just give you drugs. Or like, they're like antibiotics. Here you go, that's gonna fix it. But so like, they don't even really prescribe healthy eating or exercise or lowering stress. So that's the main place for most people. Gut health, like eat a whole food diet, reduce stress, sleep more, exercise a little bit, then see how you feel before you assume you have some terrible thing. Once you get your body back into a state of balance, it can heal itself. But if it's over here, it manifests illness because it doesn't actually have the capacity to heal. If it's always fighting a battle, if it always feels like it's sick, you can't heal. So massive. Same thing happened with Nikki with her hormones. It's really common.
I sort of found the fasting schedule for me was really good. It was easier to maintain at work because it was like a 12-hour rotation.
Yes.
Whereas at home, it's really hard to maintain the same kind of schedule. So that's I've been battling for a while.
Yeah, just a note on fasting. Fasting is amazing for a lot of reasons. Like most of the time we're all stressed, so we all have a lot of blood sugar going through our body. But then we're also eating carbohydrates like 3 times a day. So we always have sugar going through our body. So fasting just gives your body a rest from constantly having sugar bombarded with it, which is really good for you. It has a lot of other benefits, but it also just makes you realize that a lot of hunger is psychological. Like I've fasted for years intermittently. So I would eat from like, between 12, like lunchtime or 2 till about 8 o'clock, and I wouldn't eat until that time the next day. And eventually you don't even get hungry. It's just, women probably do because women love food. But just look at Nikki like, don't hate me, babe, but I hate you when you're hungry. No. But yeah, like you eventually realize that hunger is very psychological, very habitual. You're like, oh, it's this time of day. Oh, I'm in the kitchen fridge. You end up in the fridge. You're like, how did I get here? So it helps break that, and it has a lot of benefits as well, yeah.
The body is very clever at recognizing patterns as well.
Yes.
It creates hunger and expectation.
Yep.
So that's why we have if you're used to having
You get hungry.
Your body expects the food to become, so it starts to prepare itself within like a time period before that episode as well. And it's not necessary, but you think it's the body like telling me I'm hungry. No, the body's expecting that stimulus, which is food.
Yeah. Very good.
That's funny you talk about that because during the week I'm at work. I don't eat.
Busy. Yeah.
10 o'clock in the morning. It's no big deal. But at home, on a weekend, my body goes, oh, it's breakfast time. It's 7 a.m.
It's I'm craving pancakes is what I nutritionally need right now.
Another example is that you just guys have a lot more of your poo clock. It's like a lot of guys have that consistent shit whatever time it is each day. Especially when I did my time as a tradesman, I had 3 poo clocks. Yeah, and I think it would work very well.
Yeah, like 20-minute breaks. Like.
Sorry guys, Facebook poo clock email.
Yeah, your body gets into a rhythm with everything. Food, sunlight, sleep, all of these things become a rhythm. So it's good to not be habitual and to break that sometimes and then recreate it in a way that serves you a little bit better. So you're not just on this old thing that you made 10 years ago that's not really serving you anymore.
Although it's good for sleep, you have a routine.
100%. Yeah, massive. It's probably the biggest factor. Told you so. She sleeps 8 hours.
So how do you best deal with, times in life that are particularly stressful? Like I know I'm in the middle of a 6-week block. Don't need to go into detail. My business partner's away and some shit going on at home, change teams and stuff. So I've got a block where I know I just can't train as much because I physically can't do it. And the time constraints just aren't there as well as I know my body won't do it. So I guess it's the hack is to eat really well.
Lower the intensity of training. Yeah, although because you love going hard, we still go hard, but think of exercise as something that adds to your life and it's contextual to where you're at. So if you're in a state of heavy stress, should you add more stress? It's up to you in the end of the day, and if you love it, it's hard because guys love going hard, but I would think of stress as more of a curative thing, getting some blood flow, actually moving your body but not pushing it. So, perhaps not training to fatigue, dropping some volume, slightly less intensity on the weight, slightly higher rep ranges, those kind of things that aren't as fatiguing. And then just, again, listen to your body, You want to leave the gym feeling better than when you came in the gym. If you leave the gym feeling worse, you've gone too hard. That's kind of, whatever, yeah.
I think a good question to ask yourself in the States is more of not what can I do, but how can I achieve results or reverse engineer the results. So think of the particular outcome. So in this regard, it's okay, I want to move my body, or I want to train, I want to exercise, I want to add some sort of medium to high intensity movement that I put my body through, expose my body to. Instead of saying I can't train or any of this stuff, it's how can I achieve this result? And whilst you're maybe at a home environment, because at that point in time you realise, well, I could probably just go for a sprint up the road and get my heart rate up if I needed to, or I could probably just go for a few light jogs. Or you say, well, what have I got available to me? Cool, I could go for a swim and stuff like that.
Big thing to do on the backyard.
Yeah, perfect, yeah.
Because that's like Zen time.
Yeah. Literally, it should be like Zen time. There's one guy that I follow, and he says there's something that's called working in, where you're actually building your body up, and then working out. He says most people don't even deserve to work out. They haven't done enough working in. They haven't done enough, swimming, walking, relaxed, low intensity exercise to actually promote healing. They're already stressed and they start working out and they dig themselves deeper. So it's important to balance the working in and working out. So Zen time is perfect, yeah.
Just consider yourself if you're just a toolbox, right? Every skill you're trying to get is just a toolbox. In every scenario you're at, you're like a mechanic and you go, okay, this problem is wrong with this vehicle. So you're like, how can I fix it? If it's an engine problem, I don't actually have access to a hoist. So how could I fix this problem, remove this part based on the tools that I've got? And then just think creatively, because another thing you get to do is it puts your mind to work as well, and it gives you something to channel this. You have this male desire to get things done and achieve things, and if we can't actually channel that into training or exercise or movement, it's how can we actually channel that energy into another task, still put ourselves to work and still feel that feeling of satisfaction. And just ask yourself good questions. Think, tell people.
If we don't have anything else, we can break into just a couple chats. Some people can chat to Nick. We can just talk about individual stuff. 100% stress. If you guys are stressed and you haven't tried CortRx, eat a bottle of CortRx. Literally, It's so good. I don't even eat chocolate. Yeah, nope. Even better than chocolate. Yeah. No, like honestly, sleep problems. If you can't shut off at night, you have cortisol issues for the most part. You have high stress hormone at night. It's meant to naturally lower so that the product naturally lowers it. If you're waking up a bit sluggish in the morning, it picks it up for you. So it's a good place. I never rely on supplements, but I eat them all anyway because it adds to your life. So like if you're not doing something in the meantime to address stress, you probably should. But sometimes when we're really stressed, it's nice to have a supplement that helps out. So if you're struggling with detoxifying of estrogen, we have Alpha Prime. That increases test and lowers estrogen. If you just want more testosterone, we have Alpha Mars. So we have 3 products. I take Cortisol and Mars just because I can. We got staff price. It's good. Thank you, Navarre and Josh. But yeah, I highly recommend those. If anyone, even if you don't feel like you're stressed, I highly recommend just trying 1 bottle once to see how you could feel, because then at least you have a gauge. If you've taken it, you feel nothing, at least you know. But if you've taken it, you're like, oh, I do feel a bit better, then you've realized there's a bit more potential for health there as well.
Would it be appropriate to offer ashwagandha? I got my bag.
If you want to give people ashwagandha, you can, yeah.
I'm dealing drugs.
Yeah, give some.
Yeah, I'll go get it. Do you
Yeah.
want to frame it?
Yes, yeah. So in Cortisol is called that because our main stress hormone is cortisol. What are the ingredients? There's ashwagandha, which is a root, rhodiola, there's shashandra, and turmeric. So turmeric is just amazing for detoxification and lowering inflammatory and those kind of things. Ashwagandha, clinically proven to reduce stress hormone, so really good for people who just have a lot of stress, which is all of us. Rhodiola is pretty similar. What's shashandra do? Okay, they all do similar things. Awesome, yeah. So they all basically lower, they actually don't lower cortisol, they moderate it. We call them tonics. So if you don't have energy in the morning, it means your body's not naturally kicking in your stress hormone to wake you up in the morning, your wakefulness hormone. So it picks up in the morning, but it smooths it off at night. So you actually have a more regular cycle. Your stress hormone is meant to be like this. So this is the rooster, you wake up. And then as it gets to, this is the moon. And then this is when a wolf's like, woo, no. And this is, that's your cortisol levels, healthily, okay? So in the morning, they gush up, you wake up, and as it gets to nighttime, they naturally wind down, okay? Most of us have very different patterns. Many of us can be like this. So we'll wake up, we're already wired, and then at nighttime, we take ages to fall asleep and our mind's going. Eventually, many of us can even like flatline where we just feel like a zombie all the time because we can't produce it anymore. So yeah, literally, we can send you an article explaining all the different types of this as well. But if you've constantly been going hard at life, constantly having like various unhealthy foods and being stressed, eventually your body kind of gives up. It's like, fuck man, I can't do this anymore. So you just flatline. So this supplement helps from wherever you are. If you're here, it helps bring it a little bit. The Cortisol article and podcasts. The best place to start is education. When you listen to these podcasts, this information, and when you read it, and you're like, oh, that's me, you've got some more stuff, a better place to start. Instead of me telling you, it's like going to a doctor, they give you a drug. But if you learn yourself, you're like, oh, that matches up with my symptoms, that matches up with my, okay, well, I might try this, you're a bit more empowered yourself. Hell yeah.